Except it's us, the Wisco Fanatics. Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday. All of our shows are on Tuesdays this year so that we can give people a chance to watch throughout the week as we move through the week and into the next game. So we're going to start this week. We have the Packers win over the Titans, which we are very excited to discuss. Back-to-back wins with Malik Willis. So very excited to get into it. I think we're going to have a lot of really great information and stats and talking points today. So let's get it going.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so the Green Bay Packers won over the Tennessee Titans. Very excited to see another win for the Packers against I'd say a formidable defense. Nothing crazy, but the Titans have a pretty respectable defense. But we're actually going to start with the Packers defense, and there's a lot to unbox here. So we're going to start with Captain Pringles, and that is Simon talking about the defensive scheme.
I have the hot and honey ones this week. Delicious. Yeah, the scheme I thought was kind of interesting this week. How interchangeable they played Javon Bullard and Xavier McKinney at that free safety spot and how often they alternated them playing in the box. Javon Bullard played 9 snaps and Xavier McKinney played 14 snaps in the box. And there was 4 snaps where Xavier McKinney played like on the D-line, like that far up in the box. So I think Jeff Hafley was kind of in his bag this week. They brought a lot of exotic blitzes. They blitzed on 20.5% of the time. And they had 12 pass rush snaps outside of the defensive line and edge players that resulted in 3 pressures and 2 sacks. So I thought that was really interesting.
So, Jake, on that same vein, just stay in the pass rush.
Yeah, pass rush, dude. Holy crap. We have
made it on time this week. Attaboy.
Attaboy. Using your phone for good. Getting that alert to come join us on Wisco Fanatics. Pass rush was insane, dude. This is the most sacks the Packers have had since 2005, January 2nd, 2005, versus Chicago Bears. They had 8 sacks. Those 8 sacks tallied for 56 yards lost. If you take that and put that to the total yards the Titans had on the day, 23% of their total yards. That's crazy. The sacks was nuts. I went on a couple different websites to get the numbers on the sacks. Wyatt had 2, and Egbari had 1.5. Smith was credited with 2. Van Ness was credited with 1. McDuffie, Walker, and Cooper were all credited with a half sack. So do the math at home over there. Hurries, Gary had 3. He led the team with 3. So people complaining about Rashawn Gary. I don't know what to tell you. He's just fine.
Almost like there's more to pressuring the quarterback than just sacks.
Yeah, there is. Gary had 3. Preston Smith had 2. Enigbare, Slayton, McDuffie, Wyatt, and Brooks all had 1. We had 1 quarterback hit on top of that. That was Carl Brooks. So the pass rush was out, and they were feasting. And I don't want to give a lot of stuff away because I have some stuff I'm going to talk about when we get to third down defense. But they were clutch this week. That's all I'm going to say.
So starting with Justin just said, Wyatt killing it. So happy to see one of my dogs making a big impact. I think the defensive line did an absolute great job of working as a unit. So it's not even just, one guy doing something that was crazy. Like, obviously, there are certain players who had better days than others. And Jake just brought up to the point, Rashawn Gary, even though he didn't get credit for all the sacks, he still brought pressure. He still hurried up Levis. All of these guys working together. And through 3 games of the 4-3, we've seen 2 mobile quarterbacks not be able to be very mobile. And we've seen 1 game where the defense comes up with 8 sacks. That's what we've seen.
If you figure out that math that Tyler was talking about, they sacked Will Levis on just under 15% of his snaps.
Yeah, that's wild.
They had 54 snaps and we sacked them 8 times.
That's wild.
I was actually starting to feel bad for him towards the end of
No.
the game. I was like, man, somebody start the ice bath, dude. I feel terrible for this guy.
Get the cold water running.
Should have been
But yeah.
9 if Preston didn't line off offsides.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So 2 mobile quarterbacks not being able to escape. 1 mobile-ish quarterback gets sacked 8 times by 7 different players. Jake went through them all and brought up that with the pass rush, but there are multiple examples of plays where the pressure was applied and it forced Levis to step up into the arms of somebody else. Rashawn Gary did this multiple times. Enagbari had a couple like this. Preston Smith was able to finish off some plays, and Lucas Van Ness was able to finish off a play with a sack because of pressure by other people forcing Levis to move around.
So I want people to think about something real quick because I just thought of this on the spot. I just had an epiphany. Christian Watson is one of the best athletes in the NFL. He can run with anybody. If you add his height and his running ability, his jumping ability, he's one of the best athletes all around in the NFL. He's also one of the best run blockers in the NFL. And he talks all the time about being used as one of the best run blockers. Just because he's a great athlete doesn't mean that you shouldn't use all the tools that he has. I think of that, and I think of Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary is doing a great job staying in his rush lane and forcing the issue, and Tyler just brought up a great point, forcing the quarterback to step up, everybody staying in their rush lanes, and boom, we're getting tons of sacks. Now,
again,
the 8 more on Sunday. I'm just
and that's the thing is like when you talk about that, and the example that you're using is that there's more to being a wide receiver than just catching footballs. Obviously, we've seen the Packers use their wide receivers as running backs, but also blocking for the players rushing is also important. We're going to have play breakdowns again this week, and there's going to be tons of examples of the Packers wide receivers just taking DBs out of plays.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing with the D-line, with the pass rush. There's more to it than just registering sacks and tackles. There are things like helping all your teammates, and that's why I wanted to start the D-line segment with bringing up the fact that they are working as a unit. It's not just, Kingsley Enagbari had 2 sacks, and Preston Smith had 2 sacks, and LVN had a sack, and everybody, had half. The D-line combined for these plays. That's how they see it. Just like the wide receiver room. They're not looking at it as, Christian Watson had 3 touchdowns this week, or Romeo Doubs had 2 touchdowns this week. They're looking at it as we, the wide receivers, combined to do this together. And that's how I feel about the defensive line. So the last thing that I'll say on this, but this isn't only on the D-line, and Bryant is about to talk about the linebackers, but 33 rushing yards allowed is crazy. And looking at it, the Packers had 20 stops. 11 of them were accounted for by the defensive line.
Damn.
So, Bryant, on that note, take us into the linebackers.
Yeah, I thought they had an up and down game a little bit. I think they started a little rough with look, McDuffie is struggling pretty bad in coverage. He's like the second to last person in the league when you figure they use that EVOA or whatever it is, that weird stat. He's the second worst in the league. So he's struggling in coverage for sure. But him and Quaid, their tackling is just, you don't see them miss tackles hardly ever, or so far this year you have not seen it. I know McDuffie got credit for 1 this game, but that 4th down stop they made against Will Levis was standing play, outstanding recognition for them both to get out there to stop him there. So like I like their tackling ability. So on that 4th down, then they each shared that each of them had a half a sack, so they were able to get some pressure there. Cooper also had a half a sack. Cooper, he did have a missed tackle as well. But what I've noticed about the missed tackles this year a lot is they're happening in the backfield, which is it's slowing up the play. And then you'd like the 1 or 2 or 3 yard loss, sure, but a lot of those are only turning into 1 or 2 yard gains, which on 1st down that puts them behind the sticks. So those are good plays. There was one play where Cooper mirrored Tony Pollard's jump cut right to the middle to the hole, and he just met him right in the hole. And it was I don't think he got credit for run stuff, but it was like a 1 yard gain. It was just an excellent play by him. Each week now, Cooper's snaps percentage has slowly ticked up. I think we're going to see that continue. I I do think I do want to see Eric Wilson on the field more, to be honest. The first 2 games, every time he was on the field, he made plays. He didn't make any huge splash plays this week, but I think he only had like 7 snaps or something.
8.
McDuffie, like I said, his tackling, he's sure up. I want him on the field where it's like they know it's like 3rd and 2 or 3, and they're probably running up the middle or something. That's where I want McDuffie in the game a lot of times. I want it more where maybe he's not on the field as much as coverage snaps because he is struggling bad. There was the one play where like Quay and McDuffie just stopped and watched the wide receiver go right between them. Neither of them cheated towards the middle. It's a bullet throw right between them, and that seems to be happening a lot. You had McDuffie was just slow to react and got beat over his head in the end zone for that touchdown. But overall, I think the game was fine. They only allowed 11 carries for 33 yards. Another thing that was impressive is the long was just 8, and that was a scramble by Will Levis. So they did not let her run up over 10 yards this game. So they faced. Obviously, this was the worst running back they've played so far this year. They've faced 2 really good ones, but overall, I thought they had a pretty, maybe a slow game start, but picked it up towards the second half. Simon just noted that he has 7 catches on 7 looks, so his coverage is just rough, and it's just got to get better. Or maybe they need to put him in a different position and let Quay and Eric Wilson or Cooper do more of the coverage and tell McDuffie to be the spy, or however they need to do it. They just got to get him out of coverage, because God help me if we see McDuffie on JJ at all this game. And Vikings are going to try to scheme that up. I promise you, they're going to try to scheme it up.
I like the idea of Quay and Cooper.
Yeah.
Justin said 1st to 2nd round linebacker would be perfect for next year's draft. I can tell you it's already on the radar as far as we are concerned, the 4 of us.
Or maybe a trade this year.
There's going to be a trade, and I have a good one, but keep going.
God.
Okay. Well, you keep going. We're coming back to you. 3rd and 4th down.
Oh, my turn again. Here we go. All right, so 3rd down, dude. They held them to 3 for 9 on 3rd down, so you can't really complain about that, right? 2 of the 3 3rd downs that the Packers gave up to the Titans was on the first drive.
Oh, wow.
You want to talk about literally demoralizing somebody? How about you sack them 8 times? You have 4 of those sacks be on 3rd/4th down, and 2 of their 3 third downs that they pick up is on the first time they have the ball. They got their ass whooped after that.
Talk about tightening the screws. Damn.
Oh, my goodness. So on a 3rd and short, we got a sack from Van Ness. They went 2 for 3 on 3rd and shorts. 3rd and mediums, they were 0 for 1. That was a sack by Preston Smith. 3rd and longs, they were 1 for 5. There was a sack by Cooper and Enagbare, an interception by Xavier McKinney, and then on 4th down, that was the sack by McDuffie and Quay. So the sack monsters were out on 3rd down. They pinned their ears back, and they were clutch this week. When they had to get off the field, they got off the field, and I was just like, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for so long. When I'm screaming at my laptop, like, can we just have a goddamn defense, please? And it felt so good to enjoy a Sunday where we were just demoralizing on offense instead of it happening to us, Settle down, Andrew.
Andrew said sack monster sounds sus. It definitely does. Justin brought up the quote that was Elton Jenkins. Talking about the defense, they were talking about Will Levis, and Elton Jenkins said they were on his ass like a back pocket, and I'm like, that's an all-time quote right there. Put that one in the history books, right next to Vince Lombardi saying, "What the hell's going on out here?" Okay, going from the pass rush back, or the 3rd and 4th downs, back to the secondary, back to Simon.
Yeah, I thought the secondary played decently well this week. Another 2 interception game. Obviously, the huge pick 6 by Jair. It was like it's so funny, like watching Packers fans lose their mind after one drive. Like you just see him like, oh, what's this? What's going on? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. And then they just shut him down basically the rest of the game.
Leave it to after that defense to make Will Levis look competent.
Yeah. And then he immediately throws a pick 6 on the next drive. So good on Jair on that one. But after the first drive, they absolutely just shut down. I mean, Stokes had a little trouble with D-Hop, but I mean, he's still a savvy veteran.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, he's DeAndre Hopkins. He knows what.
Stokes, you look the next Kevin King. Like, oh my God. Fucking DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I feel like Stokes had a great start to the year.
Yeah, I think he's playing pretty good.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, I thought they did pretty well overall.
Let's see. Eric Stokes did struggle this game.
Yeah, but like you said, it's DeAndre Hopkins. I don't care. He's 33 years old. Like he's still a good wide receiver. He might not be as athletic.
That play he made on Eric Stokes is his bread and butter. He's done that to everybody in his heyday. And furthermore, Stokes was right there. It's just a really good throw by Will Levis and a great play by a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Not to mention he's like 4 inches taller.
Yeah. I'm not mad at it.
I'm not either. And neither should Packers fans be. Justin said Stokes is probably a little timid from coming off that injury and covering D-Hop.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think Stokes has been I don't think he's been timid at all. I think he's been really good in run defense.
He had that really good diagnosis where he hit him right at the line of scrimmage or behind.
He stopped a screen.
Yeah, I think he's
been really good.
Really good.
Like I'm excited how he's played.
He was not targeted against the Colts, and he allowed 2 for 3 against the Eagles. So I mean, pretty quiet. And honestly, like we've talked about this in the past, I know it's similarly to offensive linemen. When you're talking about cornerbacks, if you don't hear their name, that's a good thing. Unless it's obviously interceptions, but
yeah.
Other than that. Okay. Simon, anything else you wanted to say on the secondary?
No, that was pretty much it.
Back to Jake for the red zone.
So they did allow them to go 2 for 2 in the red zone, which sounds alarming, but their first drive was their first trip in the red zone. Honestly, they went right down the field on us that first drive. And I was sitting there and I'm thinking, like, it's all right. The first 20 to 25 plays, they always say, are scripted. So I'm not going to overreact. I'm going to let the game play out. They didn't get back into the red zone until the 6th drive that they had. So it was a long time until they got back into the red zone. And then, obviously, we just talked about it. That was the touchdown to Hopkins. But, if I was looking for an area to improve in the red zone, it would just be the pass coverage from the middle linebackers. I think Brian touched on that pretty well, but tight ends are just going to feast on us in the middle of the field where it's going to allow big, giant holes like that. And I don't care who it is. I mean, that guy looked like a bobblehead out there wearing the Guardian cap, and he was just wide open. He couldn't have been more wide open. He looked wide open with his big-ass helmet on, but it was like, come on, guys. I was like, I'm not mad, at the touchdown on the first drive. I'm just a little bit mad at how soft the coverage was in the red zone a little bit. That's something that could be cause for concern if you were looking to have concern about something. But I'm not really worried because the defense, like Tyler said before, said it beautifully, tightened the screws down, and they really shut shit down. So that's all I had on that.
All right. So, Bryant, special teams.
Yeah, happy for Narveson to where he went 3 for 3. He did get saved by a penalty. It was a penalty. It was that sneak through, so they called it. Good job on the refs catching that play. I mean, you got to, they get a lot of crap for a lot of bad calls they do make, but to catch something like that, that's a pretty good call. So 3 for 3. Hopefully it's a confidence builder. He had 6 kicks on the day, official kicks on the day. He went 6 for 6. I feel like that 47-yarder that he made can be a big confidence booster because that was a big kick still in the game, right? That put us up 2 full scores. At that point, that makes it they have to score 2 touchdowns and convert 2 2-point conversions to even tie us with like 8 minutes left in the game. So that's a big kick right there. But you want to see him make the 48-yarder or whatever that he missed. So I seen him coming out of halftime. They showed him on the field. He was kicking a 62-yarder to warm up for the second half. As far as punting, we only had 5 punts, averaged just under 49 yards a punt, and had a long of 63. The dude is a weapon at this point.
He was this close, dude. He was this close to putting one inside the goal line.
Yeah, he was right there. So he didn't have any inside the 20, but he still averaged 48.8 yards a punt. The 63-yarder obviously helps. Jaden Reed had a couple return chances, didn't do too much with them, 7.5 yards. And unfortunately, you can see Keyshawn Nixon getting frustrated. You see him catch the ball, and he's been pounding it like in his hand and stuff. He's getting really frustrated. Hopefully, as the weather cools down, maybe the kick won't, go as far, and he'll get a couple return chances. Because I feel like he really feels like he wants to earn this contract that he's been given by that weapon too. That's probably part of the contract that we thought, hey, he's going to be a weapon here for us. Yeah. He hasn't got to show that yet. However, I do think the NFL needs to do something at this point. And I don't think it's moving up further because you have these kickers if we can get off topic a little bit here, we have these kickers like Harrison Butker or Aubrey in Dallas. If we move in another 5 yards forward to the 45-yard line, say this is 1 minute left in the game, they get the ball at the 35-yard line. Literally with Aubrey, you could get 1 first down and you can be in field goal range at least for a chance to win the game. I feel like an offense needs to have to do more than that and earn it more than that.
Yeah.
So what I think they need to do is leave it at the 30. Fine, we're already seeing way more field goal chances and everything from there, but they just need to back the kicker up. Put them at the 25. You're not kicking it 75 yards that deep into the end zone.
Yep.
And so I think that's the move they need to make if they're going to do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so overall special teams was better this week, I would say. Narveson got saved by the penalty, but good for him. Hopefully it's confidence builder. And that was him going back to somewhere he got cut too. So
True. Justin Butker missed one this week, and Justin Tucker again. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's like, cool, I got Justin Tucker in fantasy football this year, and now he sucks.
You know what they should do? They should cut him, and then he can come to Green Bay.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm down for that. Matt asked if the Vikings are beatable. I believe so. They are definitely beatable, and we are going to talk about that when we're done with the Titans. But going into the coaching before we switch to offense, for me, looking at Matt LaFleur, we're at another week and another brilliant game plan for Matt LaFleur. And I put it on the graphic when I posted it that Matt LaFleur is starting to get some recognition. The NFL as a whole, as far as media and people that cover it, are starting to give Matt LaFleur credit for being one of the best coaches in the NFL. The point needs to be made and stated outright that Matt LaFleur is a top 5 coach in the NFL right now.
Can I touch on this topic?
Go for it.
So I think when we went on that run for 13-3, all those years in a row, the 3 straight 13-win seasons, I don't think he got the respect because of the quarterback. And, maybe rightfully so to a certain degree. But I think him having to go through that and then having, with Rodgers, then having to do post-Rodgers last year, I think he grew up a lot as a coach. He was really a really good coordinator. He knows how to game plan. Like, nobody's going to take that away from him, right? But I think having to go through that last year with Jordan Love, it transformed him into one of the top 3. I'm not even going to say top 5. I'm going to say top 3 coaches in the NFL this year. The way that he's handling things, the way he's handling the media, the way he handles the injury news, the way he handles the game planning. I mean, he's impressed me, dude. He has turned into a hell of a coach.
If you're strictly talking 2024, I think you can put him above McVay and Shanahan.
McVay's doing it. He had a really, really good game.
McVay did much better this week. That's fair.
Yeah,
but even still, if we're talking about playing with backup quarterbacks, like, those guys are missing some skill position players. The Packers are missing the quarterback.
Right.
So Matt asked if Josh Jacobs is okay. I have him in fantasy football. I think we'll get to Josh Jacobs. I have some thoughts. And yes, Brandon, prayers for 4 for Brett Favre. We probably could have opened with this talking about it, but Brett Favre being diagnosed with Parkinson's is sad, regardless of how you feel about him.
Yeah.
Okay. Justin said Matt LaFleur gave the speech gave Coach of the Year running. I thought he said, I don't know why I was thinking speech, but don't give me that Andy Reid BS. Yeah, well, we'll see about that. Okay. So back to Matt LaFleur, and Jake brought this up with the quarterback situation. Think about how much the team has changed since he took over the job. The amount of turnover from this roster, and a lot of credit goes to Brian Gutekunst as well, how much this team has changed and not missed a step outside of 2022, which was kind of a weird year and ended with the trade of the best player in the franchise history. Matt LaFleur has not missed a beat.
Yeah.
So looking at it, yes, the Colts' run D is bad. Malik Willis kept him honest with the passing game, but he also had only been here for 3 weeks at that point. Then you get to the Titans' defense, had actually been decent. The first 2 weeks, they had only allowed 92.5 rushing yards, which was 10th in the NFL. After this game, they had allowed, after the Packers put up 188 rushing yards allowed on them, their total average for the 3 games jumped up to 124.3 rushing yards allowed per game, which put them into 20th. Packers, this game literally knocked them from 10th to 20th in average rushing yards allowed.
Love to see
Yeah,
it.
you see the huge swings early in the season. You know what I mean? So
Still.
Yeah.
All right. Going into the offense, we'll start with Simon and the tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, in my opinion, if Malik Willis is the quarterback, it's going to be a quiet day for the tight ends in the receiving game. That's just kind of the way the offense is going to move when he's out there, which isn't a bad thing. But if you start looking at everything else, like Tucker Kraft is such a good blocker. He looks so good out there in both the run game and in pass pro. I think Musgrave's still kind of figuring out the pass pro a little bit, but he can get out there and block a little bit. He's not useless. But they had a collection of 3 for 4 for 27 yards. Also, Tucker Kraft is an absolute yak monster. I don't like every time he catches the ball, I think he's just going to go for an extra 10 yards. Like he's going to break a tackle and just move and get a first down.
The announcers couldn't stop talking about his blocking.
Yeah, he looks so good. You would think he's the higher draft pick.
Yeah, right.
Gutekunst
I know
said
he had
they
the drop,
they would have
but
been
you can
okay if
give
they had
those
drafted
money.
them in the opposite order.
Yeah.
Justin said Kraft is still dribbling dudes all over the field.
True.
That and ducking tackles and stuff. Yeah, love to see it. Okay.
But when he
Brian,
shook
how you
off
feel about wide
the
receivers?
tackle, when he shook it off, he just like shoved him to the side and kept running. I was like, Jesus.
All right,
Yeah, wide
Brian,
receiver
how about
development. So they had a good game. I thought Christian Watson had a really good game. I thought Romeo Doubs had a really good game. I thought Jaden Reed once again showed his versatility. The one I want to get involved a little more is Wicks. I thought I almost seen him get a little frustrated. I thought the one ball thrown to him that was just wide of him, I thought he could have made a better effort on it, if I'm being 100% honest. But it was hard to see from that angle. But I do know all of them
the ball was even coming in his direction on that one.
Yeah. So I do know that, they're all getting on the field for the most part. I can't remember the exact snap count for the wide receivers, but so yeah, Wicks had 29, Watson 34, 36, and 43 for Dobbs. Reed had the 36, and Watson had 34. So they're all within, a decent amount of snaps of each other. Dobbs, I think, deserves, because he's so well-rounded. He reminds me of like our James Jones back in the day. His third down catch was huge for us. That was his only catch, but he does that. And then they just are always involved in blocking. Watson is involved in the blocking. Jaden Reed in the end rounds. So that was pretty good. So I expect there to be a big uptick in their production if Jordan Love is to come back this week. Now the Vikings are good, and we'll get into that. But I think they're doing a good job playing within the scheme and the game plan. And I like the answer that, Christian Watson, I think someone asked him about like, oh, you're not, getting stats, or how important is that, or whatever. And he said, I'll let the wins, do the talking or whatever. Like, he just wants to win. So, he's making the most of his opportunities. That, I'll say, that throw from Malik Willis to him on 3rd and 18 to him on that route, that was so awesome. Maybe don't hurdle. You're too athletic. You got like 6 feet in the air, but I like his, point forward. He landed fine or whatever. I just feel like he's trusting his body so much more this year. And he feels like, I think he feels, knock on wood, I think he feels like, he's finally figured out what was happening. And I'm pretty excited to just watch him continue to develop. Yeah, that's all I got for wide receivers. But I thought they've done a great job these 2 weeks, and I'm excited to, continue to watch them.
Yeah. Justin, we're going to get to the running game in just a minute. Firstly, I have to talk about the distribution of the passing. So last week there was only 14 pass plays. This week we jumped up to 19. And with that increase, 8 players were targeted, 7 players had receptions. Reed had 6 targets, Kraft had 3, and then Wilson, Watson, Wicks, and Dobbs all had 2 targets each. Looking at Malik Willis, he was 1 for 3 on 20-plus yard throws. That was the deep ball to Christian Watson in the first drive. He was 2 for 3 on passes between 10 and 20 yards. He was 5 out of 6 between 0 and 10, and he was 5 for 7 between behind the line of scrimmage. Now, there were 2 drops in this game. He could have been 15 for 19, which would have looked even better. 1 drop in that 5 out of 6 from 0 to 10. So he could have been 6 for 6 between that 0 to 10 range, which is good to see. Obviously, the shorter passes being extremely accurate. And then there was 1 drop behind the line of scrimmage. That was the second trip to the red zone where they settled for the field goal. by Jaden Reed. Looking at it, Malik Willis was 4 for 8 on play action plays, but both drops also occurred in play action. So again, he could have been 6 for 8 on play action passes, which would have been very encouraging to see for Malik Willis. So going into the offensive line, we'll go back to Brian.
Yeah, I thought they had a solid game. I think Myers has been playing his best ball since he's gotten to Green Bay. How many times on these running plays do you see them, Ryan and Myers, running up the field, getting second and third level blocks? They did it again this week. I talked about it last week. I think they're doing outstanding. Malik was credited for taking 3 sacks, but I don't know that I would count a single one of those on the offensive line, really. A couple of them where he was kind of scrambling forward and just got caught up. And then the one that was, for okay loss was that I thought he held on to the ball too long there and he just needed to get rid of it. But overall, that was pretty good. He was 13 for 18 when kept clean, and he only had 1 throw under pressure. So, I mean, the Packers offensive line has been stellar with not allowing sacks really this year. And the crazy part is, people are knocking on him a lot because of the penalties. Look, I understand the penalties need to get cleaned up. They need to get cleaned up also because I feel like you start to get that reputation for the year. And a lot of times those refs will start just throwing flags because you'll have that reputation as being a penalized team. And I can guarantee you, Kevin O'Connell is probably hitting up the league this week. They all get to send in their points of emphasis. Oh, this player holds all the time or whatever. So they're probably looking at that. I'm not worried about Rasheed Walker because guess what? The only time you're really going to hurt his name is once or twice a game when he's had those penalties. He's going to get that cleaned up, right? So, look, the Packers have 7 runs of over 20 yards this year. Leads the league. They have 17 plays of over 20 yards this year. Leads the league. You don't do that if your offensive line isn't playing that well. And they have had a few of those taken back for a penalty, like that big run by Josh Jacobs. That hold didn't need to happen. And that's where it goes back to people like, oh, Josh Jacobs. And I won't get too much into it because I know Tyler. But there were several runs that got taken back from the offensive line, unfortunately, from him. But I think they're going to get better in the run, rush blocking or run blocking. They, we're number 1 in the league in rushing right now. You just don't do that without a good offensive line. I get it that Malik added a lot by running, but guess what? The O-line held up enough and for him to get around and get out. Same with the wide receivers, deserve a lot of credit as well. So I think maybe people are being a little hard on the offensive line. Tennessee was better against the rush. We didn't, aside from Malik, we didn't have a huge rushing game. But guess what? It was good enough to where we made them respect it. Also, the Packers are also leading the league with their running backs are getting 1.8 yards per carry before contact. So that tells me they're getting a push.
Love that.
Hopefully they can continue to do it this week against a really good defense. But overall, I don't even think they're playing their best ball yet. I think they're a few steps away from that, but I feel like they're going to get there and they're going to get to playing back like they were towards the end of last year. And this offensive line will be a top 5-8 in the league again.
I think part of it too is like we've seen all of them individually play really well, but we haven't seen them all as a unit play at their best. I think that's what you were getting at. But the other thing that I've been seeing a lot of people saying with it is I think when you're talking about the penalties, I think it's honestly, and I'm purely speculating here, and I know that some people are different with it, is that some people are trying to just find some form of negative takeaway.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely something that some people are doing. Similarly with, look at who they're playing. Like, I don't care.
Okay, well, how about the Titans defense hadn't allowed a 30-yard play all year? We got a 30-yard play on the first play of the game, and then we had another 30-yard play in the second drive.
Yeah.
And we had a 30-yard run called back for penalty. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a meh hold from Rasheed Walker. He just didn't let go of the guy soon enough when he was trying to get by him. That's what we're literally the thing that's plaguing Rasheed Walker right now is he's got the guy blocked up. Every offensive line holds inside the pads. He's just not letting go fast enough. That's what it is. So they can coach that. If that's his issue, they can coach that.
Yeah. And the other thing with this too was the people when we gave credit to Jeff Halfley for the top performer graphics this week, and people are saying, look who they played. It's like, dude, I would take 3 turnovers and 8 sacks against the Bryce Young-led Carolina Panthers playing with 4 offensive linemen. I would take 3 turnovers and 8 sacks against a college team. Like, those are insane numbers. I don't give a shit who you're playing.
Yeah, especially when one of the turnovers is 6 points.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Big deal.
Okay.
Darian, I disagree on that point too. I don't. Once Love's back, you leave him on the field. We don't want to get into this wildcat crap. He's not Taysom Hill, okay? He's not going to be playing. He's not going to be lining up and blocking people. He's not going to be running routes like a tight end. So if Jordan Love is healthy, people have fallen in love with Malik Willis over the last 2 games because we won and they've. But you should be falling in love with Matt LaFleur, if anything, just as much, if not more. Also, don't forget that Jordan Love was second in the league in passing touchdowns and was literally the best quarterback or one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the league the last 8 games of last year.
If we're looking at strictly the quarterback room, and we can get to this more, Malik Willis expands the running ability of the quarterback because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But the Packers passing playbook expands like tenfold with Jordan Love in the game. And that's where their strength lies, and that's where their playmakers lie, is in the passing game.
And that passing game is going to open up the running game for Josh Jacobs a lot more.
Exactly. So on the vein of the running game, Justin was saying, obviously Jacobs is the workhorse, but how about our 2-headed monster backfield with Wilson?
Yep.
So Simon, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. Josh Jacobs was done so dirty this week with penalties. There had to be like at least 4 penalties. It seemed like every time he carried the ball over like 6 yards or so, it just got called back, which is unfortunate because it really hindered what a good game he could have had. I mean, we talked about it last week. The Titans' interior defensive line is really good. With Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons, they make a pretty formidable duo. So I thought they did a good job holding Josh Jacobs to 14 carries for 43 yards, which was kind of to be expected. But Emmanuel Wilson has been absolutely fantastic as this change of pace, kind of like 1A, 1B. He had 12 carries himself this week. And 50 yards, and he's they obviously trust him well enough in the screen game. Did you see Josh Myers get out on that screen to Emmanuel Wilson touchdown? Oh my gosh, that's why the Packers drafted him over Humphreys, is his ability to move down the field, and he absolutely blasted the guy. And then obviously Malik Willis's ability to run up the field he did wonders. He went 6 for 73, broke a couple tackles, and then Jaden Reed coming in, once or twice a game to take those, jet sweeps, motion handoffs. And then Chris Brooks got a couple carries at the end of the game when it was already over. Just another masterclass play calling by Matt LaFleur this week to keep, and I felt like they kept Tennessee pretty honest this week, as opposed to like the Colts. Instead of running it 57 times, they allowed Malik Willis to throw the ball down the field. I'm sorry to get a little out of my topic, but I think that helped out a little bit too. I thought this week was interesting. Last week they had more gap run scheme. This week they went more zone, 21 versus 11. And then they also had 3.68 yards per contact per attempt. Yards after contact per attempt, excuse me, which is incredible.
So, pulled it up for you. Looking at it, Josh Jacobs had 3 runs called back for penalties. So there was one that went for 5 yards that was called back due to holding by Walker. There was one that was a 6-yard run that was called back for Bull Mountain's illegal shift for not being set on the snap. And then there was another 5-yarder that was called back for the Elton Jenkins hold. Those are the 3 that I'm seeing.
Yeah. It's just, it really. Yeah. Josh Jacobs could have had a much better game, or at least on paper it would have looked like.
Paper-wise, yeah.
Paper-wise.
The other thing that I'll say with this on the running game, and I meant to say this when I talked about coaching, is seeing people complaining that, the Packers are running it up the middle. Why do they keep running it up the middle? And it's obviously not working. They do that to set other things up. So this is where like Matt LaFleur knows more about football than people who are on their couch. They're going to continue running it up the middle, even though they're getting 1 and 2 yard gains, because the next time Malik Willis is going to be ready to hand the ball off, then he's going to keep it, and the defensive end is going to jump 2 steps at Josh Jacobs, and Malik Willis is going to run for a touchdown. Oh, wait, that happened.
Or Jaden Reed is going to take a jet motion handoff, and it's going to suck the linebackers towards the inside.
All of those things set up other things. They do that on purpose. Yeah, it's not every single play is gaining, 12 yards. Not every single play is resulting in a first down. You look at the totality of a game and, sure, they average 8 yards a play, but it doesn't mean that every single play is going for 8 yards. Some of them are going to go for one or 2. Some of them are going to go for 14. These things are going
to know how an average works.
Did you know the last 2 weeks that Malik Willis led the league in rushing attempts, yards per rushing attempt, and yards per pass attempt?
Yep, he's number 1. That is actually
really.
He's actually third in the NFL in passer rating right now.
Second,
beast.
Oh, he might be second. I saw
in
third.
Actual qualified. The only person above him is maybe Daniels is above him after last night.
Yeah, man. Oof.
Oh yeah, he played well last night.
Real quick, we're talking about setting things up. It's not even just inside the game for the first quarter or the fourth quarter. We're setting things up. They went week from week setting things up. They were running so many tosses against the Colts. At the first freaking play of the game, they ran a fake toss.
Yep.
I sat up on my couch. I was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be a good ass game, bro."
Yeah,
true. Justin,
30 yards.
True.
Yeah, Justin brought up tight ends because a linebacker gets sucked up on a fake run. You could throw a flare to a tight end like Tucker.
That was the first play of the game. They faked the toss to Jacobs, and it just had Reed screaming across the field with no one there because the linebackers went right. That stuff matters.
The linebacker had a oh shit.
Yeah.
That was the first 30-yard play of the season the Titans gave up, and it put us in scoring position, essentially, the first play of the game.
Okay. Jake, how did the Packers do on 3rd and 4th down?
They didn't attempt the 4th down, so thank God for that. They didn't have to get to a point where they had to attempt the 4th ground. That's a good thing. That could be a good thing, right? But 3rd down, they were 5 for 14, so really not much better percentage-wise if you're looking at percentages than the Titans. But they had some baller 3rd down pickups, man. I got to tell you. The 30-yarder to Watson was on a 3rd down. That was a 3rd and 7. That was their only 3rd down they picked up in the 3rd and medium area. They picked up 1 3rd down, 3rd and short area. They were 3 for 5 on 3rd and longs. That makes no sense.
That's so dumb.
None of this game made sense.
The 3rd and 14, the 3rd and 18.
Yep. The first one was a 3rd and 14 actually. That was a 3rd and 14, 18-yard strike to Dobbs, and then the same exact drive, they pick up a 3rd and 18 with a freaking flamethrower to Watson. You want to talk about ball placement and timing? There was both of those things. He looked like a legitimate NFL quarterback. For all the people 2 weeks ago, before he started against the Colts, were saying that Malik Willis is terrible, he doesn't know football. He looked like a legit NFL quarterback after being in Green Bay for a month.
I was asked today by a buddy at work, or yesterday, maybe we'll flip him for a 4th or something. I said, I'm not taking a 4th.
No.
How much have we wanted a backup quarterback? It better be a 3rd, and it better be a high 3rd if I'm considering it at this point if I'm Green Bay.
Yep.
Honestly, we've been through this stuff. So we know what it's like to lose Rodgers, and now we know what it's like to lose Love, and what it's like to not have a good quarterback behind him. So I think that's the point you're getting to. I mean, I remember the Scott Tolzien days. I mean, hey, he was awesome as a Badger.
You remember when we had Seneca Wallace starting games?
Yeah, and Seneca Wallace, I mean, he was after. I mean, I don't ever want to have to go through that again. If we could just stash Malik, he's happy there. He's a good person. He wants to learn the offense. He wants to be part of this team and just keep morale up. I would keep him, dude.
Yeah, Todd.
People were saying they should have went with Clifford. So happy. He seems just like a happy guy.
Yeah. Justin said if we win like that, I could care less if it makes sense. Dude, they won 30-14. Like, there should be no complaining going on. And
don't care if
yes,
it's
like the
30 or
penalties are like
29.
an opportunity to improve. But man, we don't need to be dogging people for winning by 16 points with a backup quarterback.
That's people that are mad that they drafted an entire team of fantasy football team of one team, their Packers, and we're not, putting up the stats they want.
It's like I said, it's the negative takeaway thing, and the analogy that I gave to somebody who was in our comment section. I'm like, that's one of those things where like you bring your parents home an A-, and you got 19 out of 20 right, and they're like, you couldn't get an A.
Yeah,
That's the people whose first takeaway is to complain about penalties. That's what we're focusing on. You got the one question wrong, couldn't get an A. Like that's what people who are complaining about penalties before anything else. Like that's like, what are we doing here? They won 30-14.
All right.
Okay, Jake. Anything else you wanted to say on 3rd and 4th downs?
Just to do a little bit better in the 3rd and short is probably the only thing I would talk about, honestly. But other than that, I got no complaints.
Adarian said he doesn't want to see Watson try to leapfrog or Emmanuel Wilson.
Hey, the Emmanuel Wilson play was freaking awesome, dude. That was freaking awesome. Not that the Watson play wasn't bad. If they would have got hurt or they would have been like, grabbing at a leg or something like that, I would be a little bit more worried. But they both got up and they were laughing. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson literally tweeted
he
that
smiled.
he was laughing. He was like, I was smiling in the middle of it. Like, dude, that play was fucking awesome.
They're gamers, dude. And Watson, to his point, he got a leg down before he fell. So, like, he didn't go straight to his back or anything like that. He got a leg down, so he was able to push a little bit.
Yeah.
Justin said, so my 28-10 score for this game was pretty accurate. Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad.
Todd said, I bet Miami wishes they had a backup QB like Willis. I bet they do. Okay. Looking at the red zone, the Titans were allowing 33.3% touchdowns. The Packers scored 33.3% touchdowns. The first drive, they scored a touchdown. That was the short Malik Willis touchdown run. The second drive, they did get a field goal. They had 2 short runs and then a rare drop by Jaden Reed on 3rd down. And say what you will if he catches the ball that he's going to get rallied on. But we've seen Jaden Reed get into positions on the edges outside the hash marks where it looks like it could be a no gain or a short gain play or even a potential loss of yardage. And then all of a sudden he's gone for 12 yards. So I'm not going to rule out that Jaden Reed doesn't score a touchdown if he holds on to that football. Then the third trip, they started at the 13. That 10 to 20 yard line range still seems to be a spot where they can improve more. That's a spot that they struggled with last year as well. The Titans did get a coverage sack on 3rd and 3 at the 6 yard line. So that drive also ended in a field goal. All in all, still got points on every drive when it comes to playoff time, which is still a long time away. Those numbers I would like to see higher. So looking at it, the Packers are averaging so far this season 30% touchdown percentage. That is 29th in the NFL.
Oof.
Last year, their average was 53.42%. That was 17th with half of a bad season by Jordan Love. That's the difference if you're talking about Malik Willis to Jordan Love. They go up percentage-wise about 20% on 3rd down. In red zone touchdown percentage. So that's the other part of going from Malik Willis to Jordan Love. So, Jake, I'll go to you first. Give me your thoughts just on Malik Willis specifically before we switch to the Vikings.
I mean, what can we say that we haven't already said or thought about Malik Willis? I mean, the amount of time that he's been here, for him to pick up the offense and just be able to run the offense the way that he has. Now, the first game, obviously, we talked about at the Colts. It was a lot of running, right? Now, Bryant gave credit to him last week about, not fumbling the ball. Tyler and I did some play breakdowns. I gave credit to him on his footwork for that stuff. I mean, that's all the little things that you have to learn that, that's the stuff that people overlook. It's the same thing with throwing a football. People overlook the legs. A lot of throwing a football is with the legs. People just think throwing is just with the arm, but a lot of it is down here. Same thing with hitting a baseball is all lower body, right?
A lot of hips.
Baseball, all lower body. So that kind of stuff matters. And for him to pick that up, in stride and lead us to 2 wins, I couldn't be happier.
Justin said Willis keeping the ball instead of making a bad throw is definitely an underrated aspect of his playmaking skill. That's just like more testament to him having the awareness of not trying to force something. The fact that he's played 2 games and hasn't even had a turnover-worthy play is definitely a testament to him playing within himself, playing within the game plan. Darian said, personally, I'd like to see Green Bay try to give Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft more red zone targets in the future. And I think that's another one of those things that would increase with Jordan Love in the games. them keeping less blockers in, which right now the extra blockers that they're going to keep in are tight ends. So, Simon, what did you think on the whole about Malik Willis?
I mean, what can you really say after 2 weeks? I think what was it? Justin said that was going to be my big thing was like his decision making is there, and that's not something that I think Tennessee really saw in their 2 years of having him. His ability to just not make poor decisions, and use his legs and his athleticism when needed, but not necessarily just because he's inexperienced, is huge. And yeah, I said a lot of the same stuff last week, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but this is exactly what Green Bay needed the last couple of years. And good on Brian Gutekunst to use 2 draft picks and drop both those guys quickly when he realized that they weren't the answer that they were looking for, and then to give away another draft pick to find the guy that they wanted and needed.
So you're talking essentially a 5th and 2 7th-round picks to find a backup quarterback that just won 2 games for us.
Yep.
Totally worth it. Yep. Darian said Malik Willis has impressed me with his decision-making and precise passing in the pocket under Matt LaFleur's scheme. Absolutely. Justin said that's a thick boy at 6'1", 225.
He's only 6'1"?
Yeah.
Really? He seems taller than that.
Huh. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and give that a
bigger than
gold star.
6'4".
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm going to give Malik Willis a gold star for you saying that you think he plays taller. That's definitely a good thing to have said about your quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, Brian.
I thought he was like 6'4" or something.
Yeah, I think he. Well, I mean, what else could you have asked for? He came in, went 2-0. None of the games were. Yeah, the Colts game got close at the end, but it really wasn't that close.
Yeah.
A lot to do with our defense, and I mean, and some mistakes by us. But Malik Willis did everything he needed to do. You know what I mean? What just super impressive. I feel so much better with our backup situation right now. That's a shout out to Gutekunst and a shout out to Matt LaFleur for, getting him ready. Tom Clemens, who, all of them to just put all the work in to get him ready. And you never know. It's possible we see him again this Sunday. I mean, Packers doctors are notorious for clearing people. I mean, if you watch Jordan Love's pregame workout, I felt like they were putting him through a pretty tough workout. So that kind of indicated to me he probably wasn't going to play, but he looked really good doing it. But overall, Malik Willis, what a great addition. I mean, this dude came in, a month and a half ago and now has 2 wins. We were talking about hopefully we can pull one away. Thinking at the time he might miss, Jordan Love might miss 4. We're like, if we can just get 1 or 2 of these games, it'd be perfect. Now it sounds like Jordan Love's coming back this week and Malik Willis went out and went 2-0. So, because I'll tell you what, our schedule does not get easy. The next 5 weeks is pretty rough. It's going to be tough. We got to take care of business at home. If we win all the rest of our home games for the rest of the year, we are a playoff team. That's the position we put ourselves in with going 2-1 to start with two road games to start the season. So, awesome. Just great job by Malik Wilson. I feel great for him, and I feel like he resurrected his career. I feel like he pretty much put a stamp on to be a backup quarterback in the NFL for the next 10 years. The guy in those 2 games probably made himself $25 to $30 million, maybe more.
Yeah, that's the Matt Flynn, Matt Hasselbeck, Aaron Brooks, Kurt Warner, Mark Bulger, all the guys that ended up having. Shout out Tim Boyle, who was also on the Dolphins and got some playing time this week too.
Everybody's gonna play.
That dude's still out there snapping necks and cashing checks.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to say with Malik Willis, and we will have more play breakdowns coming out this week. He made good decisions in RPO situations. Something that I was really impressed with, seeing him reading edge rushers and things like that, of when to let the running backs have the ball and when to keep it himself. He wasn't, trying to be doing too much or to be selfish by keeping the ball more often to try to show off that he can run. He did it within the game plan, which is something that was mentioned in the comments as well. Staying within the game plan, within the scheme, and just trusting the guys around you. And he talks about that himself, the team being there for him, having his back. And I think it goes the other way too, of Malik Willis trusting the guys that are in the room to help him succeed as well. So love seeing them playing truly as a team. All right. Let's Let's move into the Vikings game. Moving into the Vikings, starting with the defensive side of the ball. Simon, what are you looking for from the defense against the Vikings offense?
So the Vikings have a really poor interior offensive line. That's their big weakness. Between Ed Ingram and Garrett Bradbury, they've combined to allow 20 pressures, 3 sacks, a hit, and they've committed 3 penalties. So I'm looking for the Packers to take advantage along the defensive line. Hopefully another Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark breakout game. We haven't heard much from him this year. So I'm really looking for that. And just in general, they got their hands full with Justin Jefferson, and Jalen Naylor has been good. We'll see what the health for Jordan Addison looks like, but they have a really good wide receiver core, and Sam Darnold's been able to hit him so far this year.
Justin said Wyatt's going to eat. Todd said Van Ness. We'll talk about these guys. So looking at the defensive line, I'll be looking for the Packers defensive line to get some pressure on Darnold. He's not super mobile. The Packers generated 5 sacks on non-blitz plays against Tennessee. So that's partially due to the coverage, but being able to generate pressure with just the guys on the front line is a big deal. Minnesota does have a better offensive line than Tennessee does, in my opinion, but being able to generate some pressure by rushing 4 would be huge, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be watching for defensively. Bryant, what are you going to be watching for on the defense?
Yeah, so real quick on their tackles are good, but Darius Shaw has given up 2 sacks on the year so far too, so he is beatable. Very good, but beatable. For the linebackers, I'm going to be looking for to continue to see Cooper's snap increase, and we need the linebackers to be ready for Jones to have running outside. They're going to need to contain him. He's going to bounce out. He's going to bounce outside, so be ready and prepared for that. And for the love of God, please don't let them scheme JJ against McDuffie or any of the linebackers. They're going to try to do it. Don't let it happen. We need to have a plan to make sure we're not having those wide receivers schemed up against the linebacker in space, because it's just going to turn out bad. The Vikings are averaging about 4.8 yards per carry and 125 yards per game. So Jones has brought a lot to that team. So for the linebackers, just be ready to try to stop those outside runs against the tight ends. I think, their tight ends aren't super involved in the passing game, but it's possible they will be, more part of the game this week with the Packers struggling coverage. But we'll see what happens there. But hopefully, we need a good, solid game from the linebackers.
Justin said Cooper needs to show up. I've liked what I've seen from him every time he's been on the field, outside of a very few select plays. Darian said, I felt this game was the best time to rush or unleash the pass rush against the Titans. They absolutely did that. We'll talk about that in play breakdowns this week. Todd mentioned watching Jair against Justin Jefferson should be great. I'm sure somebody's going to bring this up in the matchups. If not, we've seen how aggressive Jeff Hafley is with the defense already. I don't think there's going to be a scenario where they're not going to have Jair on Justin Jefferson as often as possible. The other Justin also said put a cap on Quay only situations. I think we'll see different things with that. Justin E said, could you imagine Darnold's big head wearing a Guardian cover life-size bobblehead? If you have a chance, even if it's only 10 to 12% reduction, dude, I'm not going to be like, oh, it looks dumb. Yeah.
I thought they've done an impressive job with not really making him that noticeable. You can see it when they zoom up on them, but when they're just lined up along the line, you can't really see it.
Yeah. And the players themselves have said it doesn't add a lot of weight. So dude, if you are trying to reduce your head injuries, more power to you. And honestly, anybody doing it should just be supporting it.
Yep.
And Darian said the Vikings game is the time to see more from the linebacker core, especially Quay Walker. I feel like he's slowly getting better, but still not quite what you would expect from a first-round pick. But Justin E said there won't be no next time in my Eminem voice. Yeah. All right. Did I miss anybody on the defense? I'm just kidding. Jake, what are you watching for from the defense?
Yes. Thank you. Okay. So I also wanted to talk about Ed Ingram and center Garrett Bradbury. I think, I'm just going to let Simon, have all the notes because he was clearly reading off my paper. I'm suggesting maybe some more A-gap blitzes. I think that could be something that could be interesting. They also have a young guy at left guard too, so that could be something to look forward to. In terms of red zone defense, I'm just going to break down things that I talk about week by week. The Vikings, this is touchdowns only. They are 70% in the red zone touchdowns. They're 7 for 10 on the year. They went 2 for 2 versus the Giants, 1 for 3 versus the San Francisco 49ers, and then 4 for 5 versus the Houston Texans last week. So the red zone defense is going to have to step up a little bit. Maybe hold them to some more field goals. That could be something that could change the game, the red zone defense stepping up this week. In terms of third down defense, the third down defense has been good, so I don't really have any complaints. The only person that I'm thinking about on third down is a guy who we are very familiar here in Green Bay, and that's Aaron Jones. We know how much of a matchup problem he can be, especially on those third and shorts, third mediums. If Kevin O'Connell, who to his credit, we keep talking about LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell is also an excellent schemer, play caller. He's going to try to use Aaron Jones as a weapon in the passing game. I guarantee he's seen how our linebackers are covering tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. Everybody besides Cooper has really, really struggled, in my opinion. So we got to watch Aaron Jones, especially on third downs. That's really going to be a key for me.
All right. So in the interest of not giving up Simon to read all your notes, I'll come to you first for offense. But going to Bryant, what are you looking for from special teams?
Just make it kicks, really. If they get an opportunity to return it, great. I doubt it. We haven't seen it yet this year. So really just make your kicks that are there for you. This is another. So we've kind of gotten away. We could have afforded to miss a kick against Tennessee. We did miss one against Indy. Offense is explosive Minnesota. We're going to need every point that we can get.
Justin asked, what was the defense they ran with the 3 linemen on one side and none on the other? Outside linebacker only ran across with linemen back to the weak side. Jake, you want to take this away?
Dude, that is the Baltimore Ravens special, dude. They've been doing that for years. And I used to have conversations with my dad like, man, I wish the Packers would do something cool like that on defense. Just put 5 guys over there and have 3 guys be like, I'll take this guy, you take this guy, and then I guess we'll just figure it out. That has been something I've been wanting for a long-ass time, and I'm so happy it's in Green Bay now.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, on the coaching aspect, regardless of who's at quarterback, I still expect a game plan that's full of misdirection and plays early in the game that set up things later in the game. Yeah. That's what we talked about a little bit with the Titans game already. Justin's a fan of that. There's too many Packers fans, like I said, saying, why do they keep doing XYZ if it's not working? And the answer is just for the Packers to run a play that looks like a play they ran earlier, but is now something different. That's the misdirection. That's the option plays, the motion plays, like all of that. That's all Matt LaFleur. So looking at it, they'll run similar plays that look like plays that they've ran earlier that will then be something else that turns into a big game. And Justin said it's called scheming. That's absolutely. Yeah, Darian was getting on it. He said, no, we have Justin Jefferson and Jair to look forward to, but also Stokes versus Jalen Naylor. That's going to be interesting to watch. Flipping over to the offense. Jake, what are you looking for from the Packers offense against the Vikings defense?
I think we can run the ball on these guys, in my opinion. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have a big game. He's not in my Simon Says, but this is just off of a gut feeling. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have a couple touchdowns. I think he's going to have 1 receiving and 1 rushing, and I think people are going to be talking a lot about 2 people after this game. They're going to be talking about Jair. I think they're going to be talking about Josh Jacobs. That's the 2 people that come to mind when I think of this game.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Bryant, what are you looking for from the Packers offense?
Yeah, so for the wide receivers, I think they, especially if Love plays this game, they'll find some room. The Vikings are towards the bottom of the league and giving up 240 yards per game in passing. However, they have only allowed 2 touchdowns and do have 5 interceptions, so they can take the ball away for sure. So I think they're going to need to get open quickly because this pass rush is the Vikings have a pretty dang good, versatile, and well-rounded pass rush. It's not just one guy doing it. They have 3 guys with 3+ sacks. They have the league leading at 16 sacks. So the good thing is, I think, going into the O-line, I think that, Zach Tom's going to be able to, if he plays up to his potential, he will neutralize one of those pass rushers or should have a good chance of doing it. Rasheed Walker, aside from the holds, he's been pretty good. And then you got Elton Jenkins is good too. So, I think the O-line has a chance, like kind of Jake said. Now, Vikings are only allowing 3.6 yards per carry this year, but also they've gotten out to some bigger leads, and they really haven't played a good running back. They haven't played a starting running back all year. They didn't play Christian McCaffrey last week. They played Akers. Week 1 they played who?
The Giants.
Yeah, Giants. I mean, they played Singletary, right? So, so they haven't played. Jacobs will be the best running back they've seen so far. So hopefully he'll find some success. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. I'm hoping to scheme up some good, quick. You want to scheme up some quick passes, and take your shots in opportune times, especially if Jordan Love is still a little beat up. I will say Darnold, I guess I'll talk injuries in a second, but he also has a knee bruise, so a bone bruise, so he might be a little stagnant too. So that might even out these quarterbacks. So, pick and choose when you're going to take your shots, hit your quick throws, and then hopefully get Jacobs going a little bit.
Yeah. Simon, what are you looking for from the offense?
I think one of the biggest things that would be beneficial is having Jordan Love back. And not say Malik Willis can't do this, but I think after watching Jordan Love versus the Vikings last year, he had total command over setting protections in the offensive line. And Brian Flores is known to send these weird exotic blitzes where players look like they're coming, they're not, and vice versa. And so that's the biggest thing I'm looking for, is how well the pass protection handles those blitzes.
Yeah, and on the passing game distributions, it's really just going to be looking for more of the same. We're in year 2 of Jordan Love plus 2 Malik Willis games. Just keep spreading the ball around. That's absolutely what I'll be looking for against the Vikings defense. And then if Willis starts the game, I'd like to see the Packers around 50% in the red zone. If it's Jordan Love, I'd want closer to 60. But Minnesota is allowing 33.3% in the red zone as well on 3 tries a game. So far this season, Willis is 1 for 3 and Love is 2 for 3. If they get those 3 chances again, that's kind of what I'm expecting. So Justin said it's also hard to stack the box when we run the jet sweep so well. That's absolutely accurate. And yes, Todd, with Houston not having Joe Mixon or Dameon Pierce, shit, they could have used Devin Singletary. That's how beat up their running back room is.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that game. Who ended up toting the ball for him?
Akers.
Damn Akers.
Oh, oof.
Off of a torn Achilles.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Okay. So, Bryant, what are the injury designations we should be watching for?
Yeah, most of this comes from last week, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on it tomorrow. But Love, obviously, he's going to be limited all week. Matt LaFleur is not going to say anything. If you believe people, the betting line, if you believe Vegas, and if you believe a lot of the reporters, aside from Diana Rossini, because I'm not convinced she knows anything about the Packers, he will probably play this week. Tucker Kraft, I expect to see him in the red jersey again because he left the game briefly with his shoulder. Look, there's no reason for him to have contact in practice, so put the red jersey on him and get him out there on Sunday. It'll be interesting to see if Morgan comes back, and then Valentine. So hopefully he gets back on the field. I know Stokes played well and stuff, but if the Vikings, so going into the Vikings, it sounds like Addison is trending towards playing. Dallas Turner, I don't think played this last week, but he'll be questionable, so I'm not sure. We'll see what happens with him. And then, like I said, Darnold has that bone bruise, so he'll play. They pretty much said he's going to play, but we'll see if it limits his already limited movement at all. But, we'll have to keep an eye on that. I wouldn't hate if Addison had to sit out one more week. I think that would be a good thing for us, but we'll see what happens. Those are kind of the ones I'm keeping an eye on. Then we'll keep an eye on if anything new popped up this week. Expect the Packers injury list to be very long again. I won't be surprised if Reed is limited again. The dude takes a lot of hard hits. You're gonna see a lot this year where they're gonna limit people or whatever and just list them. They're just gonna limit them. That might mean they took 5 plays off during practice, right? But so
yeah, people need to like
Elton Jenkins sit out too.
Kind of chill out on that. Every time they drop an injury report,
not practice this week.
Oh,
I mean, He does it every week or every year. Like people, yeah, you're right though. People need to chill out on injury report because honestly, we've been really not, knock on wood. We've been, and I think the rotation and stuff we've had has helped a lot. Like those defensive linemen were super fresh in the fourth quarter. And Matt LaFleur even talked about it and having the rotation. So, Elton Jenkins pretty much takes a day off a week. And guess what? He's still a great left guard. He's going to take a game off or a day off a week. And if that's what he needs to be ready to give it his all on Sunday, I'm totally fine with that.
Yep.
And to your point, like the injury report on Wednesday is usually like 10 players. The injury report on Saturday is usually like 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Jake, what's the weather going to be like?
So when I checked yesterday, when I was writing down my notes, it showed a much higher chance for rain. But then I checked today, and it showed that it was only a 15% chance of rain. So it changed a little bit. It looks much better. 75 degrees, high around 75. Sunshine and clouds mix, slight chance of rain around 15%. Winds northeast at 10 to 15 miles an hour.
Sounds much better than the Colts game. That game was fucking
hot. God. I literally felt like a rotisserie chicken, dude, just sitting there. I was frying, dude.
So hot. All right. Simon, what is your matchup to watch?
The secondary versus the Vikings pass catchers. They've been absolutely on fire, and Darnold's playing really good ball.
All right. Bryant, what's your matchup to watch?
Josh Jacobs versus Aaron Jones. Look, everyone's talking about, it's a Aaron Jones revenge game. It's an Aaron Jones revenge game. Yeah, he's going to have something to prove, but guess what? Josh Jacobs is going to have something to prove too. He's going to want to prove why the Packers went with him over Aaron Jones. So I'm hoping he uses that as some motivation, comes out with a chip on his shoulder, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to show this is my house now. This is my field. I'm going to own it.
I like
it.
That's
obviously what I had on my list as well. If you couldn't tell by my reaction, I had Aaron Jones versus Josh Jacobs. Like you said, Jacobs is going to be out to prove that he was, an upgrade over Aaron Jones, and I think we'll also take more than just this game to see that. But seeing them head-to-head for the first of 2 matchups this season, and they're both figuring to be heavily involved, especially with quarterback injury situations that are going on. So, Jake, what's your matchup?
So I have Brian Flores versus Matt LaFleur. So last week, Brian Flores blitzed Stroud 56% of the time on his dropbacks on Sunday. For the game, for the year through 3 games, Minnesota is second in the NFL at 39.3% of their play calls are blitz. But to counter that, Green Bay is number 1 in the NFL in motion percentage at 84.5%. So I think the motion going against the blitz-heavy scheme. Now, this is going to be really key. I thought Simon was kind of tiptoeing around it before. It's going to be really – Love comes back. We'll see how big of a sack Flores has if he's going to send those same blitzes, and if Love is going to be able to diagnose that stuff and hit some deep bombs like he did last year to Jaden Reed and the Bo Melton game, if everybody remembers last year, New Year's Eve.
Sean Clifford game. Oh, Todd said Watson against Gilmore. Justin said
one
on a screenplay, in my opinion.
Gilmore's been dog shit this year.
Gilmore couldn't guard our 4th wide receiver in the playoffs.
And he was absolutely lost against Romeo Dobbs every time that matchup happened. But looking at it, honestly, Justin, with the screen game, that's actually something I think the Packers have been really good against. Even, as far as Quay and McDuffie have struggled, they both made plays against screens this week. Isaiah McDuffie made a tackle on Tyler Boyd, a wide receiver, this week on a check down that's still in the open field, in the similar near the line of scrimmage stuff. Eric Stokes made a great play against the screen against the Titans. I think there's some opportunity there for them to succeed that. Darian said, I'm going to look at the trenches in terms of the O-line versus the Vikings front 7. I feel like some of those matchups will be a factor in this game against the Vikings. That is absolutely true. Moving into X factors. Simon, who is your X factor?
I got Xavier McKinney locking down the deep ball.
Oh, 4 for 4. I like it. We're going to have that.
Yeah, I love when I see a quarterback throw a moon ball in the middle of the field, or even it's like if it's too high, McKinney's getting there to at least make an effort on that ball.
Yeah.
I have some like other views of McKinney's interception that I'm going to use when we do play breakdowns this week at some point. When we say that McKinney can just hang back and play center field, the interception that he had this week was a perfect example of what we mean by that.
Yeah, and I know I'm next, but to Simon's point, I think that's a good one, because what I'm kind of hoping we see a lot is I do want to see job money on JJ, but I want to see it with Bollard's help. Jettis has like 297 receiving yards. Their next closest wide receiver has like 104. He is. I know Addison might come back and he's good as well, but he is like 30% of 40% of their offense right at this point in the season. It's a huge number. It's something big. Maybe not quite that much, but between 20 and 30 for sure.
You got to figure Jair's got to be easily the best corner that they'll have gone against too.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that we'll see. Ja has got the better of JJ, and JJ has got the better of Ja. So, put him and Bullard on there and be good. But my X factor is Simon and Jake kind of alluded to this, but I put KC. He's had a rough start to the season. He's not been his normal self, and maybe it's just changed. But I would say it's more so KC and Devontae Wyatt against that interior of that offensive line, because I think the way you can beat Darnold and get him to kind of revert to where he's making turnovers and stuff is quick pressure in his face. And I do think Jake made a good point too. I think it was Jake that said that, some linebacker blitzes. We've seen how quick Edrin Cooper is. Man, he absolutely flies at people. So I'm hoping we dial up a couple Edrin Cooper blitzes and stuff, and we get some quick pressure up the middle. But yep, that's my X factor.
Justin said Zach Tom protecting the quarterback, going one-on-one with one of their good pass rushers, no sacks, no pressures. Absolutely. Jake, who's your X factor?
So I have two. I have Kenny Clark as one.
I'm just kidding.
And I have Preston Smith as the other one. So I'm going to talk about Kenny Clark first. He has posted a sack in 2 of the last 3 contests against the Vikings. Clark has 8 sacks against Minnesota. That is the most he has against any single opponent.
James Badbury's lunch.
Yeah. And then in terms of Preston Smith, he registered 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles versus Minnesota last season. Smith has posted 6 sacks in the last 6 games against the Vikings. Smith has 8.5 sacks in his career against Minnesota. That is his most versus a single opponent. So Preston Smith and Kenny Clark are going to feast on Sunday.
So you ready for this? I'm just going to tie this in a really neat little bow. My X factor is Sam Darnold for 2 reasons. 1 being his health, 2 being the Packers' pressure. So Sam Darnold this season is 12 for 25 when under pressure. He's been sacked 8 times and has 1 interception.
Oh.
So blitz him.
Especially if he can't move around a lot.
Honestly, this might be the worst defense for him to face if those are his numbers.
Yeah, less than 50%. All right, let's get into some scores here. Now, we always do 2 score predictions. Justin said Darnold's going to fold like a matchbook. We always do 2 score predictions, 1 from the head, 1 from the heart. So, Simon, give me your more analytical score prediction from the head.
Darnold's going to go into the hall of back pockets. Okay, for head, I have us winning at home 24-21.
Ooh. Ho. Very close to mine. I'll just throw mine out right away because mine's only off by 1 point in each direction. And I have the Packers 23-20.
Same.
Nice.
Wow. Well, I went 27-20, so not as close as you guys.
With that,
boom.
Right.
We're winning, right? You got us winning?
Oh, yeah. I have
a situation from the heart.
My optimistic is 27-20.
All right, Bryant?
28-20.
Okay.
I have 27-17.
Ooh.
All right. So I have them getting 20 points again, but I have us getting 33 points. So 33-20 Green Bay.
I fucking love that. All right. Last segment. Simon says, Bryant, you want to go offense or defense first?
I'll go offense because it ties with Jake's. What he just said. So Minnesota has given up 30 points so far this year. The Packers score at least 30. They've given up 30 points total this year. We'll score at least 30.
And Justin's on board. Justin said,
Yeah. I'll just, that's my set. I said, ooh, like Justin scores her. I wouldn't be mad at that. Yeah, I could see it. I think there's a path to 30 points.
If they can score 30 points with Malik Willis against a decent defense, they can score 30 points against the Vikings.
And we're at home, and
Yeah.
another week in the system.
Yeah.
Or Jordan Love comes back. I think we could score 30.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. Jake, give me your first one.
This one is contingent on Jordan Love coming back. 4 touchdowns in his return. 4 passes.
Oh, yeah. I'm down for it. I think it could happen.
Oh, dude, if it happens, dude, inject that right into the veins.
You know how wild it would be if he had 4 touchdowns, 1 to each of Wicks, Watson, Dobbs, and Reed. Could you imagine if they each had a touchdown? Oh my God. We'd have some feral Packer fans. Justin said this is the week that Jacobs gets his receiving touchdown.
Yes. We need this to happen.
Adarian said, I feel like the Packers D line will be the X factor. I think Devontae Wyatt follows up what he did, and Kenny Clark shows up as well.
Oh, wait, that actually ties into my bold prediction. Devontae Wyatt has another 2-sack game.
I'm with
I
it.
can see it, honestly.
I'm with it.
That kind of ties into mine. Just to toot my own horn, mine last. I was low on mine. I said the Packers will have 5 sacks. They put up 8. So so that's.
I also got mine.
Situations last week.
Yeah,
I also got mine right.
Yeah. So mine this week is everyone's talking about how good the Vikings pass rush is. The Packers will double them up in sacks.
I like it.
I don't even know how many sacks they have. Hold on.
16 on the year.
Oh, really?
So they're averaging 5 1/3 per game. But that is also thinking the Packers hold them to fewer than that.
That's fair.
So say the Packers hold the Vikings to 3 sacks, the Packers get 6. You can see that.
So according to PFF,
2 to 4.
The Packers O-line has only allowed 1 sack on the year. Obviously, there's more for other reasons, but I'm with it. I like it. The Packers have been pretty good in pass pro this year.
Yeah. So you guys started giving yours. I'm going to give mine back to back just because they are the same topic, and it's rushing. So mine for the Packers offense is that they are over 100 rushing yards. Minnesota only allows 71.3 through the first 3 games, number 2 in the NFL.
Yep.
And then on defense, mine is that the Packers hold Minnesota under 100 rushing yards. They've been averaging 125.
I'm with both those things.
I think holding Aaron Jones is playing so well this year. I think that'll be a tough task. I can see it.
That's all we need.
Yeah, sure.
I
can see it.
I had one written down that had, but I crossed it out. I had Josh Jacobs doubles up Aaron Jones rushing yards.
No,
that would be wild.
That would be insane. I like what Justin wrote. I almost put that for just to meme a little bit about McKinney going 4 interceptions in 4 games. I almost put that because my last one was 3 in 3 games.
Well, let's get to 16 in 16 games.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's week 18, and Simon's like, well, I got to keep it going, I guess.
What the record's 14? I think in a season.
That's enough.
Set like way back in like 1950s or some shit.
Crazy. That's
a good question.
I'm gonna look it up right now. Anybody else have any other Simon?
Yeah, let me go real quick. So
let them
3
cook.
straight weeks. I put 3 turnovers. They keep doing it. So I have to keep adding on to the 3 turnovers. So the first half of my bold prediction is 3 turnovers and Preston Smith with 2 sacks.
Okay, is that 2 different ones or
no? It's just one thing. Both things got to happen.
No, I like Darisaw a lot. Yeah. It'd be hard. I couldn't. It's hard for me to
just laid out all these nice stats for you about Preston Smith against Minnesota, and then you just say, "I like Darisaw."
I like Darisaw. He's a good player.
Like you don't like Preston Smith, bro?
I do like Preston Smith. I don't like him to get 2 sacks against Darisaw.
It could happen. Just saying.
It could. I'd be very surprised.
When it happens, I'm gonna say,
yeah, that's fine. I'll take that L all day. I'll take that L.
I pulled it up. The most interceptions in a single season for the Packers is Irv Comp in 1943 with 10.
Oh no, I meant in the NFL, but Packers is good too.
Yeah, Packers history is 10. So if Xavier
Oh.
McKinney can get 11
So
interceptions, that would
18?
be their franchise high.
Or let's go 22 in 22
Yeah, I
games
like
or whatever it
22.
is.
I like
Yeah.
22.
Let's see what you did there. All right. Any more bold predictions you guys want to throw out for this game?
Hold on a second.
Let him
I
cook.
just looked up some. Okay, that's quarterback. I was like, what is happening right now? The most interceptions thrown by a quarterback in a season is 42.
What was that? It was the Raiders quarterback, right?
Houston Oilers in 1962.
geez.
George Blanda, 42 interceptions. That would take Rodgers another entire career to throw that many.
Jeez.
Even said it just goes to show how bad Darnell Savage is. Honestly, I think it's the other way. I think it goes to show how much of an upgrade Xavier McKinney is.
Different
Xavier
scheme,
McKinney is
can't
that
really
good.
compare him, in my opinion.
It is 14 by Night Train Lane. That's who.
Okay, so
All right.
Your
So
bold
we're
prediction:
taking
the
week
The
14.
Packers will be leading the division after this week and be the only team that's 3-1 in the division.
I can't wait.
I don't know who the Lions play this week. I have no idea.
Seattle Monday night in
Oh,
Detroit.
that'll be a tough game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Seattle's playing some decent ball.
Reed gets 50 plus rushing and receiving.
That'd be sick. Yes,
He
please.
did it already against the Eagles, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sure did. Alrighty. Well, that is our Tuesday evening show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, commenting. We appreciate those very much. And we hope that with these shows being on Tuesday, that people have the opportunity to watch them during the week. Also, if you can't see the shows live, you can always listen to them where you get podcasts. We appreciate that as well. And you can always rewatch it on Facebook and YouTube as well, where we are live. So other than that, go Pack Go. Afam said the Vikings are overrated. Plus, the Packers are playing at home, so that's always good news. Have the hometown crowd cheering the Packers on, and we will see you guys Sunday. Keep an eye out this week for the Titans play breakdowns. Justin, thank you for being here on time, so you don't have to be getting tardy slips. But I'm glad you were able to make it for the whole show, and we will see everybody this week when we do the play breakdowns, and then we will see everybody again next Tuesday, 8 o'clock.